Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitious podcast. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously.
Oh, yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on this week's podcast, we have my soul sister and Mistressminder, Meghan Houle. Meghan is a one-stop shop for all things careers and personal development. Meghan is a globally recognized senior executive recruiter, an ACC-accredited Professional Career and Business Master Coach, and is the host of the Pivot with Purpose podcast. We are going to get into so much juiciness. We're going to talk about her being an executive recruiter for some of the most famous luxury and specialty retail brands in the world. We're going to talk about the past. We're going to talk about the present. We're going to talk about the future. She's going to drop so many nuggets of wisdom. She's going to talk about her Pivot with Purpose podcast. She's also going to talk about navigating a meaningful career, pivoting, building strategic hiring plans for business owners. I mean, we're really going to run the gamut of all things Meghan Houle. And I just cannot wait for you guys to give this episode a listen. There's so much wisdom drop. There's so many golden nuggets in here. And no matter what phase of your life or business that you may be in, Meghan is just going to entertain you. She's going to inspire you. She's going to empower you, and she's going to educate you. And that is what being an HBIC is all about. So without further ado, let's go and listen to my girl, Meghan Houle. I have my beautiful friend, Meghan Houle, who is going to light your panties on fire with all kinds of education, entertainment, and empowerment here on the Ambitious podcast. Meghan, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh. I've waited a very long time to have this moment. So the pleasure is all mine.
We have been talking about this for so freaking long.
I know.
Now we're here, and I just feel like it's the right time.
It is, because I think there's juicy things to talk about, and we've been through a lot.
Oh my God. So much. Let's go right there, because if you don't know, Meghan has been in the industry of all things fine, meaning Louis Vuitton, all the good stuff. That's how I met her when she was running that shit over in Copley back in the Dizzle. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when I walked in? Is it etched and fucking burned in your mind?
Yes, because there's a massive story behind it. So if you want me to tell it, I will.
Yes, please tell it. I love when people talk about it because I'm a fucking narcissist.
Okay, so back in the day, yes, ran a very big business over at Louis Vuitton in Boston, in Copley. And I remember the day before you came in, I was off. Rando. I have no idea how I had the day off because, it wasn't really a thing back in the day. You work 24 hours.
Absolutely.
And I think it was the premiere of Wicked Fearless, or Wicked Fit.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm going to go get me a bag to celebrate this milestone of my life.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, first of all, living in Boston, obviously, I'm like, who is this chick? A. B, I love fitness. C, Kate, you're hilarious. So we're both low-key comedians. And I'm like, yeah. So I remember watching the show and I was like, Katie Boyd, all right. She seems like a badass chick. I can't wait to continue on these episodes. Open the store the next day. And your fine ass prances in. And I was like, and everyone's like, what? I'm like,
did you recognize me right away?
Yes.
I don't blend. I'm a big bitch.
No. And I was like, oh my God. So I feel like I remember going up to you and I'm like, Katie, I just watched your show and da-da-da. And I know, I think that's the day you got your monogram tote.
Yes.
And I told, because everything was black and pink on your show. I'm like, you're getting black and pink and this is what you're doing. And you're like, okay, psycho, have you been stalking me? I'm like, no, I literally just watched your show and you freaking walked into my life. And that's
weird.
The beginning of it all.
And 12 years later, we're still friends and we're still like supporting each other. And that's like a true testament of like down ass bitches.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've both gone through so much over the last decade and 2 years or whatever. And we're going to talk a lot about that today on the Bitches podcast. But I love how you remember that day because I remember that day too. I literally fell in love with you. We became like instant besties. And then you started coming to Katie Boyd's Misfit Club in Wellesley. That was a fucking trip and a half. Because you would leave Boston to come and work out with us in Wellesley, Massachusetts.
Driving into Wellesley, half an hour commute. My husband's like, well, I think he was still my boyfriend at the time. Mike's like, where are you going? I'm like, none of your business. I'm going to the pink prison.
Yes.
And I think I said this to you the other day, but what I feel like drew me to you just right away is the fact like growing up, I don't feel like we ever had a lot of mentors in our lives. And to see someone who grew up in the spotlight, in pageants, like ripped apart her whole life, putting it out on TV, which is another rip apart, your situation in other ways,
Definitely.
Managing through toxic relationships and friends and like just seeing this like real life. Not only did I feel like I connect with you because in so many ways, not in pageants. They're not putting my ugly ass in those pageants.
You are beautiful, but you don't want to do that to yourself. It ain't worth it, child. It ain't worth it.
But like seeing someone who is a mentor, someone who's like, damn, she's so smart and she's approachable and kind and nice and passionate and truly like cares about people's well-being. And it was so refreshing in like a dog-eat-dog world that I grew up in. Late 90s, like Mean Girls Club before that show even existed.
Yep.
And you've been through the ringer with that, with all that you've done. So I think like you were really somebody that I just looked up to right away, that I really was like, wow, like I want to be like Katie and I really want to like build my business and I can do it. If Katie can do it, I can do it. So
it's very true. We were talking about that before we kind of started recording. And it's like, I always tell people, that's why I share my story so openly about where I came from and what I've gone through. And it's not that I don't cringe and my butthole doesn't pucker sometimes when I'm actually saying the words, because, even like my mom and dad have been like, can you kind of not tell all the family's juicy stories? And I'm like, dude, this is what actually motivates people and inspires them to know that other people who have gone through the same things, like there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, you saying that, because there was no mentors growing up. And I always said to myself, I always wanted to be, for my clients and the people that I coach from all over the world, I always wanted to be the person that I wanted, but there wasn't when I was growing up. I mean, I had mentors and stuff like that, but I wanted to hit all the boxes, and that's what I try to do on a daily basis. And I know that you do the same thing with your company. And we're going to talk about that. I'm so excited to talk about that. But you doing what you did for 20 plus years, can you tell the people like where you came from 20 plus years in the luxury brand industry?
Yeah.
Talk about that, girl.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, I mean, really my entire career life started initially in service, like front facing retail.
Where was your first retail?
Flying through the ranks. Oh my God.
Because I can tell you mine if you tell me yours.
Oh my God. Do you remember Contempo Casual? Like what?
My pussy is so wet.
Does anybody want to buy some flammable backless shirts? I feel like they're in style again.
All that shit is coming back.
I should have saved them. I would have like $1 million Poshmark store. I'm
legitimate,
so
pissed. But it's like doesn't look good. Stop wearing it. Like we didn't look good then. Why are you trying to bring it back?
Sitting in a garbage like in Indonesia somewhere. Like please, like
100% Indonesia. Absolutely. You worked at Contempo. Oh my God.
And I thought could I tell you the day I actually thought I made it, and I was just like, okay, no one can hate on Wholesale and Contempo. Well, first and foremost, my favorite movie ever in the world is Clueless.
Same.
Die over Alicia Silverstone. So first of all, they mention that in the show. So I'm like, it's in Clueless, right? Like if Alicia shopped there, I could. And then, gosh, what was it? 5 or so years ago, my husband, Mike, and I were at Barry's boot camp in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she was working out next to me.
Oh.
And I had to do everything in my power not to be like, share Horowitz. Because, you can't go to Hollywood and like fangirl on people. You get like kicked out.
Yes.
And then furthermore, my husband, you absolutely cannot tell anybody is if there's someone famous around him. First of all, he thinks everyone's Denzel Washington. I'm like, no, that's not Denzel. He's like, I saw Denzel at Starbucks. No, you didn't. So, oh my gosh. So I couldn't tell him because he'd be like, who, what, Alicia, and I was just like, Mike, so he got really pissed. I didn't tell him because, he'd try to talk to her and like, that's a no. but I really feel like I made it working out next to her. But yeah, it was just starting my real like first manager job. I thought I was the shiz.
Oh my God.
At the Cape Cod Mall.
Oh,
Can we just have a
I
moment
love the
for
Cape Cod Mall. I love the Cape Cod Mall,
and
dude.
that was when like TGI Fridays just opened. I mean, it was like it was a
popping
place.
Off, dude.
Yeah.
Jack Daniel's ribs.
Oh hell yeah!
Yum.
We had the
I'm
hot
licking
girl
my fingers
store
right now.
Oh,
Oh my God.
gosh,
So
yes.
you want to know where my first retail job
Tell
was?
me.
Express.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to vacuum, at the end of the night, right? You clean. And, I'm a psycho Portuguese OCD freak, right? So I would like vacuum the changing rooms and it always smelled like Fritos and Doritos and like open Badussi because everyone's dirty feet were
Like,
on the
what?
ground.
I know.
And I would like gag. I'd be like, like every time I would do it. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm a star. I don't belong in fucking Express folding these goddamn tank tops and these wide palazzo pants.
No, remember?
And the boot cut.
And the jeans wall. Oh my God.
The jeans wall just slit my wrist right now. No. Oh my God. Shoot.
And selling credit cards.
Girl.
I mean, we sell some shit now, but like the $20 credit cards they would push at you, we put everybody in the debt early
But can I tell you something though?
The housing crisis started with us.
So did. That's why we're fucking boss ass bitches. Because if you can sell a fucking 29% interest rate credit card to like a 16-year-old girl, you can fucking do anything.
Like,
honey.
you start here. Don't listen to Visa.
Oh, absolutely.
Get this Express card.
I thought it was free money. I just would I had a freaking credit card for every store in the mall, and I was just living my best life until the credit card company started calling and be like, where's the freaking minimum payment, bitch?
Oh, that was me with my analog cell phone from like Cellular One back in the day. I thought it was also the shiz, like remember you could go into a Cellular One. I think it was like for a penny, they give you a cell phone but somehow it was like $800 a month. And
yes, ma'am.
I make $4 an hour.
Yes, I do. I would just pretend I was talking on the phone. Like I would walk down the street, like talking on the phone, and my mother's like, that literally no one believes you because it's like $75 a minute.
Right. You have to like buy minutes. And I was like, I don't have any more minutes left.
I'm done.
These kids will never know.
No, they'll never know. And I think that's what makes us like unicorns at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Because we're a special breed like us. Are we elder millennials? What are we?
I think so. Because we're the same age.
Yeah. So I was born in February 81.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm a little older, so I'm like 79. Ugh.
Oh, but we, you know what we are? We are the.
Are we like Gen X or Gen?
No, dude, we are a subculture. I'm probably making this up. My husband gets mad at me when I say this, but we're actually called the Oregon Trail Millennials.
Yeah, because we played that damn game.
Yeah, I have a pubic dysentery right now, and my blue oxen just died.
I know.
Crossing the river.
Could your wagon catch on fire or something?
Yes.
You lost
your wheels fell off. All kinds
Grandma's
But you know what though? Yeah. This is what got us ready for all of the fucking insults and all the stress we were going to face as children. Because like we were like dying every day on Oregon Trail, so we're like, we can fucking handle it.
We're like, we got this.
Yes, absolutely.
You ain't lived if you haven't pulled like paper from the printers back in the day and had to like rip off the sides of it. Like.
Oh, do you know that I have an obsession now? I cannot pull a piece of paper out of a notebook. I have to take all the little things off because of that. I have obsessive compulsive disorder from all that from back in the day.
Terrible. The trapper keepers.
Like, girl, please. So Lisa Frank all the way. Mm-hmm. So you started at Contempo Casuals and then you worked your way up to, let's talk about that.
Excuse me. Yeah. So little old me from Cape Cod, always just wanting more for myself. And I remember I was in a really terrible relationship.
I'd never had one of those before.
Oh, geez. What's that like? Where I'm like, wow. So nobody works in this house but me. Sick.
Yeah.
Not only working at Contempo, but was waitressing at night in the summer in the Cape because why not? That's where all the business is.
Yep.
So I literally was killing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cape gets really small. I mean, in the wintertime, forget it.
It's wild. So
not only do you help all of the party chicks going out, dressing them, then you see them out in the bars. And I'm like, I picked that outfit out for you. It was just a little too suffocating. And I'm like, all right, there's got to be more. And I've always been that person of like, better, best, like, how do I get myself out of a bad situation? Because as we know, Katie, no one's coming to save you.
Hell no, bitch.
You have to be your own superhero, okay?
Absolutely.
So if you don't want better for yourself, no one else is going to. They're just going to drain on you like a plague or, parasite, like continuing to bring you down because it serves them.
Absolutely.
So I was like, you know what? It's time for me to move on. And I mean, even before breaking up with this boyfriend, I'm like, I'm moving to Boston. I had friends that used to work with me at Wet Seal that actually moved to Alston Brighton, which was
Yep.
like how you could afford to go to Boston.
I
And
lived in
still,
Chelsea. I lived in Chelsea.
and still to this day, yes.
Mhm.
So getting there, I remember moving and I wound up interviewing at this boutique called Jasmine Sola. Do you remember Jasmine Sola?
I used to love that fucking place. What
Yes.
happened to it?
It went bankrupt
Oh,
and it was
man.
terrible. I know. So I drove up from the Cape and I met the owner, who was this very scary Italian man.
It was a man that owned it?
No, and he like interviewed me in the back of his warehouse and was like, you look like this girl I used to know. I was like, sweet, can I have a job? Yeah, it was the whole thing. A hashtag how to nail an interview. I mean, we'll get into that. But so I just kind of showed up and it was like, this is why you need to hire me. I love service, I love retail. And I moved to Alston. I literally slept in a makeshift closet bedroom that wasn't even supposed to be a bedroom in the middle of February where the windows weren't insulated. And I had to go to Home Depot and like hot girl iron them on like with a heat gun and stuff. Yes. I slept on a blow up bed that would deflate in the middle of the night. So in the middle of the night, my roommates would hear like blowing up the bed because I would deflate down. I had a crappy television with one DVD of like J-Lo's like concert, like from back in the day. I mean, like literally no cable, nothing. I was like,
shaking. I'm shaking.
I came here, we're making it happen. And I walked into this boutique on Newbury Street my first day because I was training. And the the founder, the owner guy saw me working and like helping people where God forbid, kind of had a store of just kind of like mean faced chicks who was like sitting behind the counter. And
I remember that place.
Running around. Yeah. Yep. And he literally fired everybody in the store on my first day and told like the regional, he's like, I want Meghan to be on Newbury Street. Oh so God. I was this like, country bumpkin from upstate New York, then on the Cape. Really like my pinch me moment of like, I made it being on Newbury Street in Boston, things that you're just like,
honey, that was the place to be. We used to go to the Armani Cafe. Yes. We couldn't afford anything there. Oh, girl, please. I worked, that when I started in Boston, I was a bartender at the Roxy.
Oh, sick.
Do you remember the Roxy?
Yes.
Yeah. Like same thing as you. Like I didn't have a blow up bed. I actually had a real bed. I don't know how I got it. I must have blew some fucking random guy in an alleyway for it. But like you and I are like our stories are very fucking similar.
Pretty similar. Yeah.
Very similar. Yeah. No, but if you were working on Newbury Street, you fucking made it, girl.
You made it. Absolutely. I mean, it was chaotic. I mean, it is still now in a different way.
Yes.
But this is like before social media.
Was the heyday of Newbury Street. Yes.
Those
were the days, man.
Yeah.
Those were the days. So then you started Jasmine Sola. When did you get to the big guns where you're like, I'm moving on up in the world? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was, I think it was like 2006, 2007. And I actually wound up getting promoted at Jasmine Sola and helped them open 14 stores.
Wasn't there one in
the
Wellesley?
East Coast? Yeah.
There was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to work at the gym in that little Wellesley area where like Roach Brothers is. And
it's right across from CVS, like
that's
right
where
there.
I used to buy all my clothes to go out and pretend I was rich.
Right.
I'd be like,
hell yeah. You're like, look at these True Religions.
Oh, girl.
I can't eat for like 4 weeks, but I got these $300 jeans. Mm-hmm.
Same. I literally True Religion, fucking 7, all that shit. I still have them somewhere. I can't fit one fucking leg in.
No, I mean, I couldn't back in the day. You still couldn't. You're like,
those bitches are trying to bring those jeans back, the low cut shit. No, like make it die. Make it fucking die.
No one wants to see the crack.
No one.
We got enough problems.
No one wants to see it. So you opened fucking 14 stores at holy shit.
Yeah, so I was traveling all across the East Coast. I lived in Miami. Sliving for like 2 months. South Beach was like throwing fashion shows at Fountain Blue.
I feel like the Kardashians were also there opening their store at the same time. I just feel like that was a thing.
I mean, I'm sure I like cross paths and they're like, hey girl. Because we have a love for Chloe. Chloe is like
she's my bitch. No, she's my bitch. Did you ever go to bed in Miami?
No.
When you were there?
Mm-mm.
It was like a club and it was just beds everywhere.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I think they just like worked me to the bone. I'm like, I'm going to actual bed. Like,
yeah, you would have had like 17 STDs if you went there. So I'm glad you didn't go. I'm glad you just worked and kept your punani clean.
Thank you, universe, for protecting me.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So, what was so sad was I think this business wound up getting bought out by a bigger conglomerate. So do you remember like New York and Company, like Lerner?
Yes, bitch. Yes, queen. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they wound up buying Jasmine Sola, and I think they opened too quickly, and like some of the locations were like not profitable. So the business, they actually exited the business, and like it wound up going bankrupt.
Damn.
So, it was such this like almost like Scoop, what happened at Scoop, because Scoop was also a beloved brand and they had a store on Newbury Street.
Yeah,
when it closed, everybody was like devastated.
Oh, I was.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, okay, for the first time ever having kind of, and this is the first pivot because there's many of these, but, not having a job lined up. What's next? What am I going to do? And, I could have said like, oh, well, if I help them close, like they're going to give us this little payout and I'll just kind of like, sort of take my time. And it's like, no, when the universe shows you, you got to show up.
Yes. Thank you.
So, yeah. So, you know what? I was like, I'm going to get my resume together, get out there, get interviewing. I called this recruiter friend that was referred to me and I was like, hey, I'm in Boston. Here's my story. And I literally like this next day I started interviewing because like as the saying goes, when you have a garden and you plant a bunch of freaking flowers, those flowers bloom the next day. No, it takes time. It takes time, people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I interviewed with a bunch of companies in Boston. I mean, thankfully there were some opportunities available. And then this opportunity with Louis Vuitton came up and I was like, me? Are they going to look at me? I think like that was back in the day too, where luxury was really hard to break into.
Yes.
And if it wasn't like for like, I mean, sure, we sold like high profile jeans and things like that, but price points, I wasn't selling $14,000 handbags. We had like the Gwen Stefani Lissac tote.
Oh my God.
Remember?
You're killing me with the nostalgia today.
I know. Absolutely. I feel like let's go down memory lane. So I wound up interviewing and showed up with every ounce of confidence in my body, being scared as, I actually wore an express suit, Katie, to the interview because I had like no. They're like, hey. And I had this like, I remember going into New York City for like the final interview and the president of Louis Vuitton has like a picture of Scarlett Johansson in his office. I walk in and I'm like, where am I? And I have this like $4 bag from like TJ Maxx. And I was like, this kind of looks like Valentino. There's a hole in it. I'm like, nobody look at me. And I sit down and I think I blacked out, like Will Ferrell in Old School when he debates, but he like blacks out. Yes. I don't know if I even remember what I said, but you show up with this personality and confidence. I mean, there's so much innately that we possess that I think people don't use enough and take for granted. I
have chills all over my body as you're saying. I feel like that's such a message.
Our superpowers that it's like nobody fucking cares about your resume. You know what? Nobody cares about your beautiful Instagram thing. And we didn't even have that back in the day. I mean, they do care. You have to make sure, like everything looks good and it's aligned. But just be you. Don't go there and don't sit in an interview or don't talk to somebody on the other end and say what you think that they want to hear.
Yes.
And I think that's what trips so many people up. And I was like, you know what? These are the successes I've had. This is why you should hire me. And I think kind of taking a chance on someone that saw this opportunity as like a huge growth moment and not taking this like luxury job for granted, because I think a lot of people in those industries were like, oh, well, it's just like luxury and I've done this my whole life. I was like, I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to know what I don't know and just show me everything. And they took a chance at me and I worked at Saks first and ran that boutique and then got promoted to the big store and met you. And like, here we are, sis.
Oh my God. That's freaking crazy. It's so crazy.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
And so how long did you work at LV?
Yeah, I was there for 6 years.
And then when you kind of transitioned from there, you went like up because then you went to like more of the corporate, right?
Well, so I so I ended in Boston, but yes. I was doing like all the leather goods. So I was overseeing like the entire like 80% of that business, which at that time, I feel like now that store's got to be like $30 million. I mean, really? This was back, I mean, it's almost been like 12 years, but we were maybe at least like 15, 20 million. I mean, it was a big, big, big business, and they've changed their model. And of course the price increases. So everything gets more expensive, but it was a huge responsibility. And I would go to all the New York meetings, and there just kind of came to a point where I was like, you know what? I don't mind being in stores, but it's getting a little tiring. It's a big commitment. It's a lot of hours. I love leading people, but I am like, what else is there for me? So unfortunately, I knew I couldn't move to New York. This is like right when I met Mike, my boyfriend and fiance, and he didn't work weekends. And I was just like, okay, I need to make a meaningful pivot. And what do I do? So going back to always love hiring, and I always love like staffing stores. That's all I did at Jasmine Sola. And same at Louis. I was interviewing people all the time. I'm like, why don't I try this sort of recruiting talent management? I called up an agency and was like, you need to hire me again, bring my confidence in the door, and was on 100% commission. That's how we're paid. So really came in making no money, leaving this big salary where everyone's like, are you crazy? Like, do you actually have like a mental problem? Did you have like an aneurysm? Did something happen? Stroke, whatever. I'm like, no, I am not in alignment with what's next for me. And I want to have more flexibility. And this was that first step in, as I was telling you before, controlling my own destiny.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not getting paid, but then that's the fire under me that I lit to like, Meghan, you got to show up. And now working with all these global luxury retail clients, I mean, I know I've been successful because of the credibility I have and sort of where I've come from, my background and experience.
So when you pivoted, when you started pivoting, because obviously your whole brand is out pivoting, right? When you started pivoting from Louis to this recruiting job, what were the things that you were feeling as you were like, this is not good for me anymore, or this is not fulfilling me, or I'm not feeling I'm not feeling so fresh? Because I think we talked about this before we started the podcast today, is like, we all have this innate, amazing, powerful intuition. And we always have like these whispers that are like, this is not what you should be doing. What are you doing? What are you doing? And we just keep being like, but the money's so good and it's easy and it's like second nature. So what were you feeling when like the spirit was whispering to you and saying like, you got to pivot. This is not for you and your highest, greatest good any longer. Like the energy's been used up here. Like, what's next?
Yeah. I mean, literally
some sort of way.
Yeah. I feel like it was like waking up every day like you have a Sunday scaries.
Oh, I hate that. That's the worst.
Just like you shouldn't cry before your wedding. Like if you're bawling before walking down the aisle, you like maybe reconsider this marriage. You shouldn't be crying every day before you go to work or they're stressed out, because what that does is not only knocks your confidence down a million steps, but you're also showing up and then sharing that energy sort of across the board of like, you kind of don't want to be here. You're at risk for making mistakes. Your whole kind of mindset changes, where I was like, I don't want to work weekends anymore. Like, I don't want to work until midnight and then get back up and work at like 7 a.m. I don't want somebody's nasty bag that their baby puked in to be throwing it in my face, screaming, this is your problem. And I'm like, ma'am, no, your baby puking in your bag is not my problem or Louis Vuitton's problem. And I'm not giving you a free one. It was just to the point where, I mean, I had some lady screaming at me that like, a hook on her bag, like was unsafe for her grandchild because it was going to stab him in the eye. I'm like, well, put your bag in your bedroom. Like, Katie. Yeah. So there you go. Right. So I was just like, before I explode and become an HR nightmare, it's time for me to do something else. So what you don't want to do ever is get to a super emotional place and then think it's time to start a job search, my friends, because it is the worst mindset, because everything is based on emotion. Everything. Like, even think about when you have bad days, a fight with a friend, you want to take a minute, take a breath, revisit it. But, you don't want to just one bad day isn't like, let me throw it all out the window and like stomp out and quit. Like, there's still a reputation to be had. And, or things that, you could be doing a lot better. So certainly it was my moment to say, okay, I know this is not serving me. What else do I want to be doing? What do I know I don't want to be doing? And truly kind of sitting down with yourself and sort of fleshing that out. And then that kind of led to, okay, well, I really love to coach people on jobs and get people hired and work on jobs and projects. And oh, by the way, the job that I was, interviewing for recruiting was like 100% remote. And I'm like, cool, I can like work from home. And this is like 2012 before even this pandemic was a twinkle in anybody's eye. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to get my life back and some freedom.
Yeah.
And that was started it. And it wasn't about the money. It wasn't, because I knew that was going to come. And I think we're also scared to take that leap too. And I've been managing through this a lot with coaching clients of like, yes, we all have financial expectations, but sometimes first we need to maybe see what the opportunity is before like setting that price point and bottom line. Like if you know that is going to be there, or maybe you're in a job where you're paid a little bit different, trust yourself that you can freaking do it. Some of those highest paying jobs are in some of the worst companies and cultures that you can imagine. Do you want to be yelled at every day? Ugh. Like, do you want to be like Miranda Priestlead? Probably not.
Never,
right?
Never.
Shamed, fearful, like even more than the Sunday scaries. So, that's when I knew. And then I just kind of took control of my destiny and really was just like, believe in me because I believe in myself.
And you did that from 2012
until now.
Until 2000. Well, you're still doing it.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about when you really did the most recent pivot was in 2020, which like you, I pivoted during that time too. And I'm telling you, it takes labias of steel to do what we both did. So I want you to tell your story about that because it's just so freaking inspirational. You are literally the epitome of ambitious. When you were telling me the story, I was like, fuck. Because it's scary as hell, man.
It's really scary. Yeah. Well, so being in luxury staffing. So what I do on my agency side is I run a full desk of all these amazing global luxury brands all over the world I work with. So think Christian Dior, Christian Louboutin, Tiffany and Company. And I find all kinds of jobs for retail and corporate and wholesale people. So it's amazing. Fast forward to the early 2020, January, February, we're putting out awesome job offers. Like I think at the start of 2020, we had some big goals, Katie, right? We're like,
what?
We
were living our best fucking lives.
Best life. I know. Little did we know. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be a great year. Like we're all, on the right track. And then, come March where, wow, like these restaurants are shutting down. Gyms are shutting down.
Yep.
Everything shut down.
Our business is shut down. I couldn't do my book tour. I wasn't half of my business that I had just honed for the last 20 years just went,
right.
Totally.
Yeah. No. And it was just like, we all have that story of like, okay, wow, none of this was asked for and it's completely out of our control. What are we going to do? And I think that's when you get into this fight or flight syndrome of like sitting in fear and being frozen.
Yes.
And playing a victim, which I've never played in my life.
Same.
I mean, a victim to coronavirus, I guess, but it's just like, okay, this is happening to us. We need to feel the feels, but also we need to like move on. And I think as humans, resilience is a choice.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
And I'm like, ooh, okay. Here's a sign maybe from the universe. I did not manifest COVID. I promise everyone. I'm not that magical. I'm not that magical.
That I think that
I would never manifest. I think collectively as humans.
I think we did.
The world was like,
collectively manifested it.
Pause.
Yeah.
Everyone needs
I
a
think
break.
I think we were all just so fucking burnt and we didn't know our asses from our elbows. And I think the collective energy came together and was like, oh, we're going to make this fucking crazy ass thing happen. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They're like, how can you say that? But it's like, I like you are spooky and I have the intuition and I know things that just know them intuitively on like a cellular level. And I just felt that as soon as this shit started happening, I knew that this was like a huge reset for everybody. And people did what they did with it, right? Like people like us, we pivoted and we ended up like creating some of the most incredible times of our lives. I mean, it was
given
not
the
easy,
time,
right?
No.
And
Yeah.
look what we're doing now with our lives. But it wasn't easy. It was, like I said, it was ballsy as a motherfucker to do what we both did, especially with, what you did, because you had never done anything like this before.
Never done it. And, so I saw this opportunity where you can imagine retail shutting down, people losing their jobs left and right. As I was telling you, like 200 emails a day coming into my inbox. Megan, as a recruiter, can you talk? Can you help me? Can you help me figure out like what I'm going to do next? And I was like, whoa. First of all, I don't have any.
I don't even know what I'm fucking doing.
I don't have any jobs coming in. First of all, I mean, we did work on some jobs, but my income was cut in half that year. I mean, scary stuff where I know a lot of people suffered a lot of loss across the board. But, when you kind of take a look at your business and you're like, oh my gosh. And then this bigger community to serve, I was like, oh, well, let me just start a business in a business during a pandemic. Let me just see if there's something here. So I thrusted myself into a master coaching program where I'm like, this is my sign from the universe. It's giving me a little extra time to focus back on myself again.
I love that. That's wild. That's wild. Most people wouldn't do that. Most people would be like, I'm going to drink bourbon and eat Chinese food.
I'm going to clean out my wine fridge. And there were days.
We did that.
We did that.
But both of us did pivot. And with what you did, it was absolutely incredible. So let's talk about the pivot itself with your coaching company.
Yeah. So after my accreditation, and this was October of 2020, low key. And I think what everyone gets so stuck in these days of building a business or anything is that everything has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. Just freaking start. Yeah. Just start it. Just
never going to be the right time, sister.
So I was like, I'm going to throw up this like hoopty website and, there's a legitimacy behind it. Okay, here's my story. Here's my bio. Why work with me? All the things you need to flush out because sure, you as a personal brand, you're one. What does someone think about when they think of Katie Boyd? What are you connected to? How are you helping people? How are you serving? Like you need to get that out. And that was honestly the hardest. The creative process of building this is what drains you the most.
Yeah. That's what people get stuck on and they don't ever get fucking clients. They get stuck in the minutia of like the colors of my website and my logo and like,
nothing that doesn't matter. Nobody cares. How do people leave feeling after working with you?
That's right.
That's what matters.
That's all I care about. That's fucking on point,
girl. So, I think for me, it was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I remember starting to kind of tiptoe and put the coaching out there. And it was really tough because as a recruiter, when people come to me, it's a free service that I offer to people. But I can only give you a job when my clients who are paying me have a job that works for you, right? So I'm not an agent for people. I'm an agent for my clients. And when, I really started showing up and sharing my worth and my value for what this coaching program looked like, mind you, months and months of putting together worksheets and strategy plans. Like all this is an investment on my end as well, people, and it's not free. And I was getting a lot like of that price, like scarcity, like afraid of charging people early on because you feel bad. And as empaths, like you want to help people, but like, what is your time worth? Like protect your peace, protect your boundaries. What is that all worth? And I think that was the hardest part for me to go over was charging people. And I remember my first coaching client, I was so scared. I'm like, this person has to like be like the next president, like making sure like they get the most out of it. But you just have to do it. We have to do scary things. We absolutely have to do scary things. And by the way, on top of that, I started a podcast. I'm like, how much more can I do? Let's keep just doing it. But you know what? It's been so rewarding and it has grown again, very passively planting seeds, putting my voice out there, becoming a thought leader, sharing a lot of things that are easily accessed on my website, free blogs, free downloads, free resume tips and tools, things where you can get my insight without working one-on-one, but being seen as a thought leader and standing in my own light, Katie. Yes. I think like having my own platform, having my own voice, breaking those corporate ties, which I think so many people get stuck in. And I work with people every day that are in like the worst environments, catty as all hell, working so hard.
Being abused, literally.
Being abused, not speaking up for themselves, not asking for a raise, being thrown around, and it needs to stop.
But it has to stop with us because like you said earlier in the podcast, no one's coming to save you.
No one's going to save you.
You know, I'm a huge proponent of coaching because I've been in the coaching industry for 20 plus years. And I always tell people, like, stand on the shoulders of giants, right? It would take you, let's just say, 3 years to do all the research to know what maybe, and no one will ever know what you know, but like, you know, the nuts and bolts, right? Why can't you just go and pay fucking Meghan to coach you for, 10 sessions? And guess what? That investment to your future could yield you 1,000 times your ROI. It's just like people don't think like that. They get so hung up with the money and why should I pay for coaching? I should just Google this or I watch a YouTube video. Like, go ahead, waste your fucking time, spin your wheels.
Yeah.
Why do that when you can just, again, stand on the shoulders of giants? It's like you're so into fitness. I love your Instagram. You're always like working out, kicking ass, right? Taking names. But you work hard, you play hard, which I love about you also.
Yeah, balance.
You're not, even though you probably are a fitness professional because of all the years you've been working out, you're not a coach in the fitness world. You're not, a nutritionist. It's like the same thing. Why would you go and like Google the perfect diet and all the perfect thing? Just go to your fucking coach and go get coached. Go get worked out, go get a meal plan from that person or whatever. It's the same exact thing, but people, they just get so afraid of the number value of like the coaching where it's like, you have to believe that this person, and that the person is right for you. You can feel it when you get it. And I know you do introductory calls to see if it's a good fit because, they might want to work with you, but you might get on a call with someone and be like, I don't like your vibe. I'm not dealing with you. You already know, like, because you're an empath and you have the intuition.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important I think everyone should have a coach in some capacity. I really, truly do. Whether it's a business coach or a spiritual coach or a mentor of some sorts, I just think it's so freaking important. I really, really do. What you're doing is, I hate to say it, but is God's work, honey.
No. And it's like, what are you losing out on by like not investing in yourself?
Oy, come on now. It's everything.
I mean,
they're losing everything.
And it's just like to move the needle forward. And I think what is so powerful about having a coach is it's not your best friend's cousin, sister's aunt that's going to tell you, honey, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, girl, you crazy. Yes. Or getting the advice of a family member. Or, if you're going to live through the opinions of others, God bless. God bless, because everyone's going to tell you what you should be doing. Absolutely. I want anyone out there listening, what do you want to be doing? What the hell do you want to do with your life? What does that look like? What does your dream look like? And go get it.
They don't even sit and think about these things. So in a bitches, and you have my book and we talked about this before. I have the girls think about what is their perfect day. So if you're living in your dream life, you have your dream relationships, you have these amazing boundaries, you're healthy, you're happy, you're, giving back, you're living in your purpose and your power. Tell me what your day looks like every day. When do you wake up? Who do you hang out with? What are you eating? Who are you working out with? What kind of relationship are you having with your significant other? What are you doing for work? But people don't even give themselves an hour to sit and think about how they want to create their lives, but they'll go watch 7 hours of Real Housewives.
Right. And get lost in like Netflix and like unhealthy habits and cycles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love you said, when you feel good, you do good. That's one of your quotes. When you feel good, you do good. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I just love that.
Oh my gosh. Well, think about it. I mean, just the endorphins of whether you're putting a lot of work in working out and you freaking put on this outfit and you're like, damn, my body looks banging and I can conquer the world. Or you get out there and you nail an interview or, you're helping somebody out and, you're doing kind things in the universe. I mean, in general, overall, if your mind's right, if your spirit's right, if all the things are aligned, I mean, you're going to go out there and be like, how can I not be an asshole today? That's like what we all should strive for.
That's me every day.
But if you're living in all the mindset things, limiting beliefs, significance, fear, hurt. I mean, as the saying goes, hurt people. You're not going to be showing up your most authentic self. And I think working with a coach really helps you. And as you know, we're not therapists. Like I'm not licensed to give you.
I'm not equipped for that, child.
No.
Don't, please.
No, I'll be calling 911. Okay. So that's what it says in my book.
Dial 911.
Yes. But it's just like, why not given what we've all been through in our lives, but over the past 2 years, why wouldn't you want to wake up every day and be like, carpe diem, motherfuckers?
Absolutely.
I'm going to seize this day, and ain't no one going to break my stride. Nobody going to slow me down.
Yes, sing it.
Oh, no.
I got to keep on moving.
See? You're welcome, everybody. Did you know there was American Idol?
I loved it. I loved it. You're going forward.
Can everyone just set their ringtone to that for like the next week? We're going to give people homework, and I want that to be everyone's wake up ringtone. Okay.
But it's so freaking true, dude. Yeah. It's everything you're saying is right on the money. So if you had advice, and just your Meghan advice for women who are actually scared to pivot or to take that leap and just be like, you know what? I'm working at a job that literally, if I died, they would fucking not even probably bow their heads in silence. And I would be, someone else would be in here 24 hours after my fucking casket was put in the ground. Like, what would be your advice for those women who are afraid?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want you to believe that you deserve better. If you don't believe that you deserve better, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one.
Yes.
And you have to believe you deserve to feel good, to be good, to have better, best. And, I think that when you do work in those environments where you really feel kicked down, for me, it was finding habits or things in my routine that I could do, or people, high vibe people. You really have to kind of start to release yourself from, or detach yourself, from those like negative environments, conversations, situations, and say, okay, right now this isn't serving me, but what is the next best step I can take to kind of move the needle forward for me to either look somewhere else, or maybe it's having a conversation with your boss and saying, you know what, so-and-so is being a pain in the ass. Or so I think like we're so afraid to speak up these days too, which is what we've been through, or stand in our worth and our power. I mean, the biggest thing I help people constantly coach with is like negotiating money, salary. Like, why are we so afraid to ask for more?
Especially women. Like men,
right?
Honestly, I'm not saying all men, but most men that I know are like, what's the big deal? Just go in there and ask for fucking a raise or whatever.
Right.
Have
imposter syndrome. They're like, is that a candy bar in CVS? Like,
sounds delicious.
No. Right. It's like, where can I get that Ben & Jerry's flavor? No. So first it starts with confidence. I feel like I want, and I know you're such an amazing, confidence supporter as well, but just go do something that makes you feel good. Like, you got to just kind of start to get out of this negative sort of way or environment and build back up that confidence, which I know takes time, but it's kind of like stepping into this voice and really believing that you deserve better. And then finding whether, you can invest in a coach, or, maybe there's a mentor in your industry. I mean, LinkedIn, like there's so many great social tools and options now that we never had before. Women's groups, community groups. Don't be afraid to like go to an event by yourself. Just show up for yourself every day. I think like that's what I really just give the advice to for anyone listening to start first. Like, just show up for yourself every day. Do something that scares you and start building up that confidence, because you can make a move. Katie and I have been doing it our whole lives.
Oh my God,
and we've been like kicked down like off to the grouch. Like at Sesame Street, got Big Bird like kicking us down the street, rolling in the can.
Yeah, but now, we're like the Muppet guys, though, now that like make fun of everybody from like the...
We're up in the balcony.
Yeah, yes. We're just talking shit now. We're just like, man, we're old and pissed. We've been through too much. We have post-traumatic stress disorder.
God, I can't. But that's just the first way to start. I know I like always like to like write down my points, but and then also too, like I was saying before, like just the weight of people's words can really sit with you, and just be careful as you kind of come into this new life, this rebirth, who you surround yourself with, because your friends are going to change.
Yeah. I mean, you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? And sometimes when I say that to people, they literally look at me like, gulp, like, what the fuck? Because they're not surrounding themselves with the right people. I mean, I like you surround myself with powerhouse people that it's like, this shit is like, yeah, what's the big deal?
Beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, who cares? But then I go and I coach with some of my clients, and some of the things that I say to them, they think I'm speaking another fucking language from like some galaxy far, far away.
Galaxy, the Guardians of Galaxy.
Yeah. And I'm like, honey, this is real. Like, if I can do this and come from where I came from, you can do fucking anything. But they still like, they want like, I don't know. They want like a silver platter with all the answers. And that's just like not how it goes. You have to go out and like do the thing.
No one's coming to save you.
No, dude. We need to make a t-shirt of this.
I know. We really do. No one is going to save you, and no one can advocate for you but you.
I feel like I have had a lot of clients in the past, no more, and I don't know if you've experienced this, where people hire you or they start to talk to you and they think like you're going to solve their problems for them. Sorry. That you're going to solve their problems for them. And I think that can be a very muddy, really dangerous road to walk with a client-coach relationship, because in the end, I don't like you and you don't like me, because you expected me to save your ass and I expected you to listen to what I was saying and go do the fucking thing.
Right.
Have you ever?
All the time. And I think like that's what
I love how honest you are.
Yeah. The first kind of intake call, when I can kind of sniff out, like, are you really ready to do the work? Are you ready to put in the time? Because coaching, in some of our aspects, like you and I, we both give advice, like we're very generous in that, but we're not doing the work for you. And you're not going to get the results unless you do it. So there's just like Kim Kardashian's fat burning pill back in the day. There's no magical pill. There's no magical thing. There's no magical email. It's going to drop in your box and like some fairy's going to fall out of your ass and be like, here you go, sis. Yeah. Like you have to do the work. And there is so much strength that comes and growth from the struggle, from failing, from not knowing everything. And like, I freaking love to fail. Like, give me something. I hope I fail, actually, because I freaking learn a lot.
Oh,
and I
100%.
learn maybe what's not going to work the next time and keep growing. But I think that I don't tie my outcomes to my clients. I mean, my clients have had amazing successes, but it's because people are really serious about doing the work.
Yeah.
And those are people I work with.
That shit out before it even
right
gets
away.
Too far.
Oh, right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will ask you 25 questions that'll make you poop your pants. And then you're like, I'm scared of this girl. And then if you're afraid of me, it's probably not the right time to be working with.
Yeah. Well, I like to always have a little bit of fear. I always have a little bit of fear.
But having somebody ask you the hard-hitting questions, Katie, your family at Thanksgiving is not like, what do you want your life to look like? They're like, why didn't you bring the sweet potato casserole, you asshole? I mean,
absolutely.
It's like, you better show up.
Fuck yeah, with the green bean casserole.
Right.
We all shit our fucking pants.
Those french fries.
With the crab apple splatters afterwards. Oh my God.
Fall asleep with Uncle Phil on the couch or something, whatever. God bless.
Of course his name is Phil. So what makes your method different? Because you have the Houle method. Mm-hmm. What makes your method so different from maybe other coaches?
Oh my gosh, because I'm coaching people off the path that I've been on for 20 plus years. Because I'm not Jesus carrying the cross. I'm not going to say that, but I've paved the way. I helped put some of those bricks in the sidewalk. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So like, okay, my case in point, I'd love to share this example, and whatever football fans fight me. But when Tom Brady retired from the Patriots, why do you think Tampa Bay, why do you think they brought him on? Oh, because he's won Super Bowls. And what did he do the first season there? He won a Super Bowl. That's right. So the path you desire is best paved by somebody that has been there. Write that down. Make that another t-shirt, Katie. Okay. Stickers. But you have to, I truly believe, for me, I invest in people that have walked the walk and can talk the talk.
Okay. So you were talking about like these 25 questions that you ask that like make people poop in their pants. I think those were your exact words. Like, because listen,
oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
I have questions too that I ask people that are really important, because I know that like if they can't answer these questions, I cannot give them my time, my energy, my great ideas, because we're both fucking geniuses, let's be honest. So are there like certain questions that you're like, I have to ask these potential clients A, B, C, and D, because this is going to prove to me what really matters to them and if they're actually going to show up and do the work?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing is motivation.
Hell yeah.
I love to ask, like, what motivated you to reach out to me? What's motivated you in life to make meaningful changes? I think for me, like learning the backstories of some of the people I'm working with and, kind of like, I think it susses out a lot of initial mindset things.
Yes.
And this is an emotional process in general in terms of coaching. And listen, like you want to show up and you hold space for people. But at some point, Katie, and we have to be so careful. Like, I am not a licensed therapist.
Oh my God, you aren't? Because I'm not either.
I'm not allowed to clinically give you advice in a way if you are in a really bad spot.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, when's the last time you felt joy? And if I feel that there's just so many big issue undertones, you have to be really careful and make sure, as an accredited coach, like maybe you're offering like, hey, I might not be the best person for you to reach out to. Or to be working with you through this.
Yes.
Because, at one point where we focus so much like on what we coach to, you got to get your head right. You got to get your mind right. You kind of have to, get into the space where you feel good and you feel ready to be able to take this journey. And that takes time. And listen, I'll work with people one-on-one to say, okay, let's sit down. Let's talk about your story. And initially first, like we've all been the highs and lows, but I give a lot of my initial clients this sort of exercise to be like, okay, great. That's your story. How can you rewrite that?
Yes.
How can you see that in a different way?
Because do you see when you're doing this intake, because I have them too, I do the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Do you see that people like, when you're like, okay, tell me your story. They're like, so in 1987, I was abused by this guy. And then it just goes boom, boom, boom. And it just goes down to this dark place. And I'm just literally like, that is such a, oh, fuck moment for me as a coach. Because I'm just like, oh, this person is so fucking married to their story that
there's a lot there.
I don't even know if I can help them because they might need like a therapist or like someone who specializes in post-traumatic stress disorder or like whatever, So have you seen that before? Like you're just like, oh, this person's going down a bad path. It's like, I don't want to hear the story about like their trauma. I want to hear their story about like how they got to the place where they reached out to me.
Right. Like the self-awareness to be like, I need to like get out of my own freaking way, but 100%. And you know what? That's the victim mindset. I'm sorry. I have so many people in my family that hold on to what someone said 75 years ago at a Thanksgiving table.
Yes.
Or they're on the Titanic and like, you put down with the ship and I still remember what
it's like
said.
Abraham Lincoln 7 years ago. I'm like, really?
So they're holding on
still talking about
the Declaration of Independence. They're like, this was written and it's just let it go. Let it go. And how can you see that person? And listen, abuse and all that, I'm not even going to touch that because that's, like you said, a whole special sauce. But like, how can you see that person cutting themselves out of your lives or this not working out for you or that not happening? How do you see that actually happening for you?
Oh, right. It all happens for you. I just have chills all over my body.
For us.
Yep,
yeah. Same.
Absolutely.
So I think like really sitting down with someone and immediately between like my coaching and also recruiting where I'm talking to people every day about motivations to make job moves and whatnot, like really kind of like finding that source of like that ethos of like who you are and like where you just are in the moment emotionally, mentally, how you see your story and like why are you here? Because as we know, if someone can say, oh, I'm so excited I want to work with a coach. We are not miracle workers. We cannot do the work for you if you are not showing up and saying, I'm going to commit to this program and I'm hiring you because I need to be held accountable and have time to hold space, but also do the work in myself. Like that's where the results come in. And I can't work with people that are not ready to see and work for those results.
Absolutely. And to go back to, I love the story that you were saying about like the whole Tom Brady football thing. It's like, why did the Buccaneers hire Tom Brady? Oh yeah, that's right. Because he fucking won how many Super Bowls? And guess what he did the first year? He won another Super Bowl for them, right?
Yeah.
And I always say like stand on the shoulders of giants. Like if you desire to be like someone, not the same person, because that can never happen. But if you're like, oh, you know what, Meghan Houle, look at her track record. Like, look where she came from. Like, look what she's doing now. Like, I know that bitch can help me in A, B, C, and D because we have similarities or working with me in whatever capacity that they work with me. Like, a lot of people come to me because they want to learn how to coach and do the mentorship and the healing and all that kind of stuff. But then they don't want to take like, okay, A plus B equals C. They don't want to do the work. And they think that just by proximity to greatness, that all of a sudden it's going to rub
Right.
off on you like Aladdin's lamp.
Osmosis.
Right. And it's like, that's not how it freaking works. And I can't tell you
No.
how many clients that I've had to actually like, quote unquote, break up with. Because I
Right.
just knew, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to smell what the rock is cooking. This person
Yeah.
like only wants to be around me to like pick my brain and like whatever. And it's like, they're not going to really actually do shit. So I don't know how you feel about this, but then I start to feel like I'm taking this person's money and I know that they're not going to do anything. So it's like, it makes me feel icky inside,
Right.
you know?
And you're conscious 100%. Yeah. I mean, the thing, oh my God, pick your brain. Like, can we find another way to approach people? That's another podcast of like how to master the networking scene. But you're right. It's just to have someone
We need to do that
show up.
podcast.
Heck
'Cause
yeah.
nothing
Like
is more,
networking
nothing is
I
more
know.
ridiculous than when someone goes, hey, can I buy you a coffee or take you to lunch and pick your brain? I'm like, oh, that sounds fucking fun.
You're like, let me give you my free advice, free life advice. You're like,
Yep.
no, honey, we've worked too
No.
hard to get to this point. Like, sure, if we want to collaborate, but no, I mean, there's going to be those energy suckers, and those are the people that will then come to you and be like, well, I didn't get the results, and da-da-da. We don't make promises. There's a big old disclaimer in that last page of my contract, baby, that says, this is on you, sis. It's on you.
Absolutely.
So we can lead you there, but the work has to be put in. And it's so magical, Katie, when you have somebody that have these incredible breakthroughs. Like I'm working with someone right now who has been in their own way for a very long time. And to like see someone in a session that comes in and lights up, is like, I finally had that conversation and I like finally like have a plan and I'm going to do this next. And I talked to this person, and it's just like that you put yourself in a different vibration, right?
It's the best drug. To me, that's the best drug.
To go. I know. I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
It feels so freaking good. But unfortunately, they are few and far between for all coaches because, again, like you said, 98% of the humans that we work with, and just the humans on this earth, are never going to get out of their own way. They're so deeply entrenched in their victimhood and their hypnotic rhythm. And no matter, we could literally stand on our heads and spit quarters and like sing the fucking Pledge of Allegiance or whatever the fuck, and it still wouldn't be enough for them. Period.
No.
No,
put on like a Britney concert and be like, you want a piece of me, and like it doesn't matter. I feel like I've had that song stuck in my head since the beginning of the year. Isn't it true as coaches? It's like your phone dings, walking down the street, like running to our podcast. I'm like, my phone's going off, my watch going off, this is going off, a carrier pigeon drops a note in my hair, like someone shits on me. I'm like, you want a piece of me? But we do, and this is the magic. This is the magic. That's why people sign up. You want this magic. You want this energy. Well, then we want it on the client side. Bring your energy, bring the magic, and get ready to work. And you're going to see results.
Absolutely. I know. It really is that easy. It's like the consistency is the key, and showing up for yourself and putting yourself number one. And I always say, like, so many of my clients are like, they have kids, right? And they're like, I would die for my children. I would die for my children. And I'm like, would you fucking die for yourself? Because God damn it, your kids ain't getting shit from you. They're getting a half dead person every day as their mother because you can't freaking rise to the occasion of your greatness that God placed in your fucking heart.
I know. Isn't it crazy? Kids. And then I see it in the corporate world of like, nobody knows how to talk about themselves because they're connecting themselves to a person or a brand for so long. Like, what do you want to do? Like, who are you? We are all people before we joined this company or got married or got kids. Like the best and biggest thing I've done over the past 3 years is, gosh dang, I found my voice, Katie.
Yeah.
Standing in my power, unapologetically saying like, this is me. This is what I love. Like, this is who I am. And if you want to be around it, great. Do a big old friends edit. If you're not on this like choo-choo train, the stop's coming up. Bye-bye. Yep. I'm done, and like we were just saying, like, surrounding yourself with those people. Yeah.
Matt always says, get on the bus or get under the bus, but there's no in between. And it's true.
No.
Like, and it's cutthroat and it's fucking ruthless, but it's like this, you know what it is? And I know you're going to get this because you're just like on the same vibe, is it's fucking spiritual warfare. Like this shit every day is legit spiritual warfare. Like every day I get up and I'm like, okay, get your fucking armor on, bitch. Because
get Vaseline.
Yeah. It's like, get my Vaseline out, take my fucking hoop earrings out. Like, I want to cut a bitch. And I mean that in like the realest ass way. Like it really is warfare. And it's like, you have to go to battle with like strength and determination. And you have to say to yourself, and I think that this is where a lot of people fall flat, and maybe this will resonate you, or you can back this up or not. But it's like, really, truly, at the end of the day, no one's fucking coming to save you.
No.
Okay? No one's coming to fucking save you. I know you say this all the time, and I love that you say that, because it's so fucking raw and it's so real.
Yeah.
But I really truly feel that people think at the end of the day, like, Meghan's gonna give me this like $1 million idea, and I'm just gonna run with it. And it's like, you know how many fucking $1 million ideas I've given to people? I've literally said to them, I'm gonna give you $1 million idea only because I don't have I just don't feel like doing this. Like I can't do this. This is not my wheelhouse. But I'm telling you, and guess what? Do you think that they fucking do it?
They don't act on it. I know.
Zero. You know what? So I'm just like,
I created Spanx, Katie. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm just kidding, Sarah Blakely. I'm like, all these $1 billion deals that I let go. I used to wear my Skims, my shapewear, my tights, like tight tights. Do you remember like legs hosiery that you would like buy from
little
like
egg.
CVS?
And the little egg. Yeah.
But yes, they made this like one hosiery, which was like this, like, you know, sculpting hosiery. It would literally morph like the shape of your legs because it was so tight that I'm like, yes, I'm skinny. So I'm like pulling it on. And then you put like your pants on underneath and you're all slim. And then, you know, of course, Spanx and Skims and all the things. I'm like, I was doing that first. No, I'm just kidding. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them do the things. And it's just
look
like,
at the woman.
Life's so short.
Look at the woman that fucking invented Spanx, okay?
Yeah.
Her name's Sarah, right?
Sarah, yeah.
If you listen to her story and you really, really like listen to her story, the shit that bitch had to do, and she hawked her fucking Spanx herself. Like she would like go into Nordstrom and be like, "Hi, can I just have like a little like thing to set up my shit?" And she would fucking pound that shit. No marketing agency was like, "We're gonna make Spanx the biggest thing since sliced bread." No,
right, she didn't have a Kris Jenner yet, you know, like
everyone thinks that oh my God, that's another thing. People come to me and they're like, so I need a social media manager, I need a marketing strategist, I need a PR firm. I'm like, what are you PRing? What are you marketing? Right. What's the strategy? What the fuck are you selling? And they're like, they don't even have the thing. I'm like, you're putting the fucking cart before the horse isn't even alive yet. It's still like an egg in its mother's fucking uterus. Like, you know, like it's not the thing.
It's these fast wins. I mean, what do you feel like has affected that over the years? Because you and I come from a very different, you know, kind of same generation. Nothing handed to us, no social media.
Yeah. What do I think it is now? Like why people think this way?
Like bitches clawing at each other, fighting in the streets. Like now everybody, it's so behind the scenes, like Insta. Yeah. Like I've actually seen like fist fights outside of my high school. Now kids are like, I'm in my basement and I'm just like.
No, we would like be like, meet me at the fucking flagpole, bitch, at 3:00. I'm gonna fuck you up.
And I pull your hair out.
That's what I would do, and I would scratch them, and I would like bite them and pull their friggin' weave, and like back in the day, no one had good weave, so it would just fall right out.
Oh no, it's actually your real hair. But like, what do you think? What has changed where people just think that there's these fast fixes? It's social media.
I think there's a bunch of different things. So I think number one, a lot of people are in the bad side of network marketing mentality where they like it's a get rich quick scheme.
Yes.
And they don't really realize like how much goes into, you hear these people that are in like a network marketing company and they're like, she's a millionaire in 8 weeks, and it's like, but the thing is like, she also was like maybe one of the biggest nutrition coaches in the world, and then she was like, this sponsored thing that I was doing isn't really working for me anymore, so I'm going to go over here to this network marketing thing, and then I'm going to bring all of like my people with me. So it's like this overnight success. But what they don't see is maybe she made $1 million in 8 months or whatever, but then what happens is people are like, the shake's not working, or this pill isn't working, or it never did work, and I'm sick of getting this auto ship every month. And then she might have made $1 million, but then guess what? She's making $2,000 a month now. No one sees that shit. No one sees like, show me your fucking bank account, bitch. Like all these people. Oh, girl, now I'm gonna get on a tear. Some of these people are like, I'm a multi-millionaire, and I'm like, show me your assets, show me your bank account, show me the numbers. Like I want to. You can say whatever the fuck you want to say in this day and age, but that doesn't mean you're real. So that's number one. I think it's the get rich quick schemes. That's number one. Yes. I think number two, it is. Everyone posting their highlight reels on social media.
Comparison schemes.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh shit, so-and-so's in front of a Lamborghini Diablo. And it's like, that's not their fucking car. They're on Newbury Street.
They're at a car show.
They're at a car show, or somebody's on Newbury Street that parked their car to go into friggin', wherever and get food. And then they're like, yo, I wish you guys can't see me what I'm doing right now, but I'm like, yo, like they stand in front of the car and they're like, do that weird thing. Or they like, or they're at an air show and there's like wheels up and they're like, get on my private jet. And I'm like,
right.
You're not even getting on that. That's not even yours.
Like, bro, let me hold your Louis duffel real quick. Okay.
This is the shit that I'm saying. So
it's like smoke and mirrors a little bit.
It's all smoke and mirrors. And I also think too, the third thing is everyone has really big balls because no one actually has to face people. So like back in the day, when you went to high school and like some girl jerked your boyfriend off at a keg party and you're like, bitch, I'm gonna fuck you up, right? You had to go the next day and see that bitch in your fucking science class.
Yes.
Right? Like it's not like, oh, she's not even a real person because it's just a picture of a person. So that's why people can like go on and say like whatever the fuck crazy shit they want to you on social media because to them, you're not real.
Right.
Like you're not real. So I think it's like that. It's like a triple threat of those three things. And that's why sometimes and I know that we're the same age. So I want to like kick it old school.
Yeah.
Like I want to like call a friend and be like, hey, I have this thing. Like, I really think that you would be like great at it. Or I have this thing. Like, would you want to come to me or do a retreat with me? Or do you want to go on a vacation with, like, no one has these like one-on-one conversations. Like even, I don't know if this is you because this is me now. And I like hate myself for it sometimes. Like, when you text someone and then you're like, fuck, I really have to ask this person. I'm going to just call them. If someone texts me and then they call me, I literally fall on the ground.
Right. You're like, oh my God, the phone's ringing. No. Yeah, I know.
Like, do you remember back in the day? Like
all we did was talk on the phone. I mean, like you go home from school, you see all your friends all day, and then you go and you're on the phone for 5 hours.
Yes.
I was just thinking about that. But I tell you, and I have like younger brothers and nieces and nephews, and it's really scary. And I think maybe some of us older generations going on, like we are finding it hard to like, how do we interact with people anymore? How do we hold
especially after COVID though, especially after the pandemic, because
and like COVID did nobody any good. Yeah.
No, even the other day, my husband was, and Matt, he's like super bubbly, outgoing, whatever. And he said to me the other day, he goes, like I need an hour every day, at least alone by myself. Yeah. He goes, because it's almost like we're like weird, oddly agoraphobic now. Like we want to go out, like that. Our fun side of us is like, let's go into the city and like have dinner with Meghan and her husband, and then all of a sudden you like start thinking about getting dressed and you're like, oh my God.
No,
oh my God.
No, I know you like stress yourself out. It's more anxiety inducing than you look forward to it.
Where back in the day, we couldn't wait to put on our fucking, like our little silk shantung outfits and go
top and go clubbing. Yes. How did I do it? Like, how am I still here and survive the madness?
I don't know, but then I see like younger kids going to like the big festivals and shit, and then just like, what about that seems fun to you?
No, with like Burning Man. And with like a bunch of dust in your eye, I'm like, no way.
No,
I mean, if I don't have like a king bed, I have to bring my own pillows places now. I'm like that.
Honest to God,
girl.
Me too. Yeah. Swear to you, it's so freaking bad.
Because we like our habitats. Like we have, you create beautiful spaces. You're like, I don't need to go anywhere else. Plus, like you have better wine and food at your own damn house anyway.
Well, that's what I say to my husband. I go, if I'm going to go anywhere, it needs to be better than Casa de Babine because
I'm like, I'm coming to you, Katie.
Right? No. I'm like, why would I go and like spend all this money to stay at the Four Seasons and be in a hot tub with a bunch of gross people when I could just be in my own hot tub in my backyard? It's just, it's such a double-edged sword, right? Because you become so successful and then like nothing really like wets your whistle anymore. You're just like, I just want to stay home and watch fucking Netflix and drink my delicious
wine. That's what
wine.
The Kardashians do. Well, first they can't even go out. And if they do, they're calling paparazzi anyway to like show up and take pictures of them being out. But like, why do you think all these celebrities, they have their houses, they just stay home?
Yep.
Amen.
I'm there for it. I am so there for it. Oh my God. So I hope that what we just talked about, I hope that people listen to what we say as like elders in the community and say like maybe I should show more of my real shit on social media and like even like I don't have to fucking post everything. Like if I go on vacation with my husband, like do I have to post every fucking breath that we take? Like,
No.
is nothing fucking sacred anymore? Like, I don't know. I'm just like kind of old school like that shit.
Same.
You
Yeah.
know?
And then if you don't, it's like, where did you go? And I think people stress so much too. If I'm not posting, not constantly putting myself out there and become irrelevant, it's like, no. I mean, your vibe in your community will always see. And I think you taking rests and taking breaks, like as leaders, as mentors, as Tom Brady, you got to show people the way and be like, it's okay not to put everything out there, but it's also okay to like celebrate, successes and share vulnerabilities. And I don't know, I just feel like it always has to be this balance. I'm all about, and it's not about being lucky. I know it's a trend now, like with like TikTok and influencer. I'm so lucky. Everything good happens to me. It's like, okay, whoa, everyone hates you. Bye. But it's about saying like, shoot, like posting something and having people clap for you. I think people now too are on the other side of it. Like, I'm scared to like brag, or I'm scared to share something that really good happened to me because I don't want to make other people feel bad. It's like, maybe you're actually going to inspire somebody.
Yes, absolutely. And don't be embarrassed for all the things that you've gained and all the successes that you've had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not bragging. I mean, there are people out there that use the bragger as a tactic.
Yes.
Like, look at my jet, look at my car, look at my this, look at my that. That's not really my vibe. But like, if you were in New York recently and you were like, I'm going to take over the world. And I had all these things and I was like watching you and I was like, of course, because I love you like with all my heart. I'm like, yes, bitch, take over the world.
Take it, one client at a time. But, and in a realistic way, it's, kind of showing that, when you make appointments, when you show up, when you show up for yourself, when you go to New York and you have meetings until, 11, and then you get up and, you work out, you do Barry's class, you're like proud, you're like, yes, I did it, where it's so easy to press snooze and just like let it go by. So no, it's not a highlight reel to make people feel bad about not doing the most, but it's also a little inspiration of like, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
So what is next for the Houle method? What is next for you personally? Like, I want to hear all the things.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, continuing to build out a bigger sort of coaching models, offerings. And I know we talked about, I would love to get sort of a career academy going this year, Katie. How can more people be accessible to me versus just the one-on-ones?
Yes.
Which are an investment for sure.
Right.
But, if there is someone that is maybe in a really good spot and says like, I want Meghan's guidance through videos or modules and can show up and do the work, like, hey, here's something you can do on your own time. So, it's creating more of a group kind of function. I really want to get out more front facing, doing panels. And like you said, like getting on the road. I love this, like to be seen is to be believed. I think that's a quote from not Saint Elizabeth, but Queen Elizabeth, not Saint Elizabeth. Yes. But just getting out there, and I love meeting people and making new connections. A big goal last year and this year, as we talked about, was like making new friends, surrounding myself with like new vibes, higher vibes, like-minded businesswomen. So whatever's like in between there's a lot brewing, so to speak. But I think it's just like continuing to share my programs, impact, like build community. And I'm excited for a lot of these like in-person things that I feel like are like finally coming back after all the years,
Amen. Absolutely. Well, let's have a side conversation too about your academy, because I'm the queen of that shit.
I know you are.
I've mastered that shit.
Yes.
So let's have a side conversation after the podcast. But okay, so how can people work with you now? Like, how can they work with you and where can they find you on all the things?
Yeah. So, I mean, really everything lives on my website, www.meghanhoule.com. So, I mean, GHANHOULE. No, it's a crazy last name.
And I'll put it in the show notes too. I'll put all this stuff in the show notes.
Yes. Get in there, link it up. I'm on Instagram at all things Meg Houle, which is like lifestyle and content and all the my craziness, cats, like wine, you name it. Let's hang out and chill. I also have a podcast, which we're getting Katie Boyd on there too.
Oh my God,
so
I can't wait.
Pivot with Purpose. It's all about changing your direction, changing your mindset, changing your life, which will launch its new season coming up. Yay. So podcast, coaching, all the platforms. Really, I love people to reach out and say hi, So, yeah, that's where you can
That's
find me.
awesome. Oh my God. This was such a fun podcast. It was like talking to an old friend over coffee.
Hell yeah. Yes.
Or wine, mostly wine.
Right. Yeah.
God. I can't wait for everyone to listen to your podcast because I know that the women in Ambitious Land, they love a good story. They want to know like where started from the bottom, now I'm here, you know, like that's the most important thing because listen, I know there's a lot of people that were born with silver spoons in their mouth and they're just fucking wealthy and doing the most because of what their parents did. And I'm like, good for them. But that was definitely not where we came from.
Us.
And it's definitely not where like 98% of the human's population comes from. So I know that whoever listens to this, whether they're trying to start a business or they're leaving corporate America and they're going into entrepreneurship or they're pivoting in any way, shape, and form, she is the bitch to listen to. She knows all of the things. Meghan, thank you so much for being on the Ambitious Podcast. I know we've been trying to do this for so long and I'm just so excited for what's next for you. And this was absolutely amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And you know how much I love you and I love our stories at the beginning. So I hope there are some good nuggets to be taken away and look forward to more to come.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Listen, guys out there in Ambitious Land, this was a fucking dope ass situation that we just did. And I hope that you learned so much from it. Hit Meghan up on all of her things. And don't forget to share this podcast. And in the meantime, I'll see you next Tuesday. And don't forget to stay ambitious.